You remember every insult, you forget every compliment. Somewhere in your memory right now, there's a comment someone made about you years ago, exact tone included. Maybe it was cruel, maybe it was just careless. Now try to remember a compliment from that same week, not the general feeling, the actual words. Most people can't. The insult got filed in permanent storage. The compliment never finished checking in. This isn't about you being pessimistic. It isn't a personality flaw, and it isn't something only sensitive people deal with. It happens to nearly everyone in nearly every part of life. 10 pieces of positive feedback on a piece of work and one criticism. You'll remember the one, a room full of people who like you, and a single person who clearly doesn't. You'll think about that one person on the drive home. Psychologists have a name for this pattern: negativity bias, the tendency for negative experiences to affect you and stick with you more than positive ones of equal size. And it isn't a small effect. Researchers who reviewed decades of psychology studies found something striking: bad experiences aren't just remembered more often than good ones. They're remembered more vividly, felt more intensely, and they influence your decisions more strongly. One well-known summary of this research put it in 4 blunt words: bad is stronger than good across memory, emotion, decision-making, and even relationships. The negative simply outweighs the positive of the same size. You can see this play out in something as close as a relationship. Long-term studies of couples found that a single negative interaction, a sharp comment, an eye roll, a slammed door, needed roughly 5 positive interactions just to balance it out, not one positive comment to cancel one negative one. 5. That's how heavy a single bad moment sits on the scale compared to a good one. Your brain isn't measuring fairly. It never claimed to be a fair scale. That unfair scale isn't just a metaphor, it's a specific piece of hardware, and it's running right now. Deep in your brain sits a small almond-shaped structure called the amygdala. Think of it as a threat detection sensor that never fully clocks out. When something negative happens, criticism, a threat, a loss, the amygdala lights up fast. It tags the moment as important, important enough to encode deeply, important enough to replay later. When something positive happens, that same alarm system barely stirs. There's no threat to log, so there's nothing urgent to file away. Scientists have actually measured how fast this happens. Using instruments that track brain activity in real time, they showed people a mix of negative and positive images. The brain's electrical response to the negative images was measurably larger and faster than its response to the positive ones. This isn't a slow, thoughtful process you can talk yourself out of in the moment. It's over before you're even consciously aware a reaction happened. Your brain spends more electricity on bad news than on good news automatically every time. None of this is a design flaw. Picture 2 early humans walking through tall grass. One notices a strange rustling shape and instantly freezes, heart pounding, fully alert. The other notices a nice-smelling flower and pauses to enjoy it. If the rustling shape turns out to be nothing, the first person loses a few seconds. If it's a predator, the second person doesn't walk out of that grass at all. Missing a threat could end your life on the spot. Missing a reward just meant a slightly less pleasant afternoon. Those 2 mistakes were never equally costly, so your ancestors' brains evolved to never treat them as equal. Evolution doesn't reward fairness. It rewards whichever strategy keeps you alive long enough to pass it on. The strategy that won was simple: when in doubt, remember the bad thing. Here's where it gets complicated for you. Specifically, that rustling grass alarm system is still fully installed in your brain today, but almost none of your modern threats are rustling grass. They're a curt reply in a work chat, a joke that lands wrong at dinner. Buried in an otherwise glowing performance review, there's one critical line, and it's the only one you'll remember. A single unkind comment can outweigh 100 kind ones. Your amygdala doesn't know the difference between a predator and a passive-aggressive email. It fires the same ancient alarm either way, which explains the other half of this. Not just why the insult sticks, but why the compliment doesn't. When something goes well, your alarm system reads it as no threat detected, situation resolved. Resolved situations don't need to be filed for future danger avoidance. There's nothing to prepare for next time. So the compliment gets logged briefly and then quietly cleared to make room. It's not that your brain doesn't value kindness. It's that kindness to an ancient alarm system doesn't look like information you'll need to survive tomorrow. This wiring made perfect sense for a species dodging predators. It makes considerably less sense for a species reading performance reviews and social media comments. You can have a genuinely steady, good year, and if someone asks how it went, the one sharp argument from back in March is what comes out of your mouth first. The good months were real. Your threat system just decided that one data point was the one worth flagging. Multiply that across a lifetime of report cards, relationships, and rooms full of mostly kind people. It adds up to a badly skewed record of how liked, capable, and safe you actually are. Here's the part that's actually useful to you. You can't switch the amygdala off. It isn't going anywhere, and honestly, you don't want it gone entirely, but you can work with what it's doing instead of being blindsided by it. Psychologists who study this suggest something almost embarrassingly simple: deliberately slow down on the good moments. When something positive happens, don't just notice it and move on in half a second. Sit with it for an extra 10 or 15 seconds. Let it register the way the bad moment would have registered automatically. Researchers call this savoring, and it's one of the few tools that measurably counteracts this bias. There's a second tool, and it takes about 1 second. Know the ratio going in. If a single sharp comment is doing 5 compliments worth of damage in your head, that's not proof you're truly disliked. That's your amygdala running its default math, built for tigers, not tone of voice in a text message. You're allowed to notice the math is running and discount the total accordingly. There's something almost touching underneath all this. If you look at it right, your brain doesn't remember every insult because it thinks badly of you. It remembers every insult because it is still, after all this time, trying to protect you. It's applying a survival strategy built for lions and unstable footing and strangers with knives to a world of slightly awkward group chats. The system is outdated, the intention behind it never was. So the next time one criticism outweighs a room full of kindness in your head, you'll know what's actually happening. It isn't the truth finally showing through. It's a very old alarm, doing the only job it has ever known how to do, and the compliments you can't quite recall weren't wasted. They just never had to fight as hard to be believed. If you've ever wondered why you do the things you do, subscribe. Your mind remembers more than you think.